7 signs you have shadow powers that demons can sense and avoid at all costs. Have you ever walked into a room and the air just changed? Like something ancient and invisible suddenly noticed you, paused, and then backed away? You felt it. You know you did. Most people brush those moments off, saying it was their imagination. But you've always known something was different about you, not just different, deeper. And I'm here to tell you that's not a coincidence, because there are some people walking this earth who carry within them a force so old, so profound, that even demons, the very embodiment of chaos, hesitate to approach, not because you're pure light, but because you carry something they fear more than light. You carry shadow power. Now, don't get this twisted. Shadow doesn't mean evil. We've been taught to fear the shadows as if they only conceal monsters. But what if the monsters were afraid of what hides in your shadow? What if demons, those ancient entities that feed on fear, chaos, and weakness, can sense when you've made peace with your inner darkness? What if your power lies not in pretending to be all light and love, but in embracing the parts of you that were once banished, repressed, and hidden?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You see, the first sign you have shadow powers that demons can sense and avoid isn't flashy. It's subtle. It's the way your presence disrupts the plans of those who wish harm on others. It's the way someone toxic suddenly stops calling you. The way your own thoughts, once filled with self-doubt or emotional chaos, now seem to listen to you as if you command your own inner realm. That's not just emotional intelligence. That's spiritual territory you've claimed back from the forces that once tried to own it. That's power. I used to think being spiritual meant being soft, being gentle, always forgiving, always turning the other cheek. But that's not the whole truth. That's a half-truth taught to keep powerful beings like you asleep. You have moments where your eyes go cold, not because you lack emotion, but because you see through the illusion. You feel when someone's words are a mask, and without saying a word, you strip it away. That's not rudeness. That's energetic sovereignty. Demons can't seduce what they can't deceive. And you're becoming impossible to deceive. Doesn't that make you wonder what else have you been taught to fear that was actually your gift? This journey is not about fighting demons. It's about becoming someone they don't want to fight. Someone who doesn't flinch at darkness, but drinks it like sacred wine. It's about becoming so whole that no part of you is available for manipulation. And when you start walking that path, something interesting happens. You begin to notice patterns. Shadows move when you walk. Strangers either open up to you instantly or avoid you like you're holding a mirror to their soul. People tell you their secrets within minutes of speaking to you. Why? Because your energy triggers truth. And truth is the one thing demons cannot operate in. They can twist, distort, and lie, but they cannot thrive where there is truth. And your presence, it forces truth to rise. That's the second sign. You are a truth catalyst. You don't even need to speak. Your silence is louder than 1,000 sermons. Have you ever been in a group where everyone was laughing, playing along, but you just sat there, observing, and suddenly the energy changed? That's not awkwardness. That's awareness. You are reading the energy. We don't talk about that enough, about how some of us are readers of the unseen, interpreters of the energetic matrix that surrounds all things. You were never meant to fit in with surface-level people. You were meant to feel the undercurrents. You're not paranoid. You're perceptive. And being perceptive in a world run by deception is a revolutionary act. But here's where it gets deeper. The third sign that you carry shadow power is that you've survived what should have destroyed you. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. You've walked through fire and came out not just burned, but forged. And that's what demons fear the most, not people who avoid suffering, but those who alchemize it. You've taken your pain and turned it into wisdom. You've taken your shame and turned it into compassion. You've taken your rage and turned it into boundaries. That, my friend, is spiritual alchemy. And when you start transmuting your wounds into weapons of light and shadow, the entities that feed on your suffering start to starve. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a moment of deep despair, where you felt like giving up but something ancient inside you whispered, "Not yet"? What was that voice? Where did it come from? Who was speaking? Or was it you, the real you, the part hidden beneath conditioning and fear? If demons represent fragmentation, you represent integration. You are becoming whole, and wholeness radiates a frequency that is inhospitable to parasitic energies. That's not just self-help talk, that's spiritual warfare, and you've already been fighting it, whether you knew it or not. Another sign is the way you dream. You've had dreams that felt more real than waking life. Dreams where you were flying, falling, fighting, or being chased not by monsters, but by aspects of yourself. And when you stop running in those dreams, when you turn around and face what's chasing you, something shifts in the waking world. That's not just your subconscious. That's you stepping into your dreamwalker archetype. A being who doesn't just live in this world, but navigates the in-between. The astral, the places where demons often hide. But you've been there. You've seen the symbols, the faces, the codes. Even if you forget them upon waking, your soul remembers. And so do they. You ever wonder why some people feel intimidated by you, even when you've done nothing wrong? It's because their shadows recognize yours, and unlike them, you're not afraid of yours. That's intimidating. That's powerful. That's a spiritual alpha not based on ego, but on integration. You are a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see themselves. And here's the part that most people miss. Just because you have shadow powers doesn't mean you're immune to darkness. In fact, you're more sensitive to it. You feel it when someone's words don't match their energy. You feel it when a room has been filled with arguments or trauma. You feel it when someone is carrying an entity attachment or emotional baggage. But instead of being overwhelmed, you're learning to stand firm, to breathe, to clear. And that's the next level, learning how to command your space. That's not something you read in a book. That's something you remember. You've done this before, in other lifetimes, in other realms. That's why this feels so familiar. So, let me ask you this. What if your fear isn't of the darkness, but of your own light within the darkness? What if you've been sensing your own power rising, and it scares you, not because it's evil, but because it's real? Are you ready to stop apologizing for your sensitivity? Are you ready to stop shrinking around people who haven't done their shadow work? Are you ready to embody the kind of energy that cleanses rooms just by walking in? Because if you are, then we're just getting started. When the soul becomes a weapon, turning wounds into warding, there comes a moment on this path when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" And you start asking, "What is this trying to make of me?" That moment is not just a shift in perspective, it is a spiritual initiation. Because the truth is, every wound you carry is not just a scar, it's a sigil, a vibration, a spiritual etching carved into your soul by the fire of your own survival. And when you stop hiding those wounds, when you stop masking your pain to make others comfortable, that's when your soul begins to radiate a frequency that is not only untouchable but unapproachable to darkness. You've been through things that shattered you. You felt alone in ways words can't describe. You've cried prayers into the void and waited in silence, hoping anything would answer. And maybe at the time, you thought no one was listening. But something heard you. Not a god in the sky, not an angel with wings, but the deepest version of you, the one that exists beyond time and flesh, the one that has lived countless lives and carries an ancient memory of power, purpose, and presence. That self heard you. And slowly it began to awaken. That awakening is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is subtle, like the first crack in a stone wall, barely visible, but irreversible. That crack is your power breaking through. You want to know something demons fear? It's not holy water. It's not crosses. It's not even fire. What they fear the most is a soul that has stopped running from itself. Because a soul that no longer fears its own pain becomes a living ward, a walking exorcism. You don't need to chant or burn sage, you are the ritual. Your presence alone shifts the energy in the room. Why? Because you've turned your wounds into wisdom. And wisdom is the ultimate repellent to demonic forces. They thrive in confusion, in chaos, in unprocessed trauma. But when you start weaving your pain into clarity, when you start using your past as fuel rather than a chain, you become a signal of sovereignty, and demons flee from sovereignty the way shadows flee from a steady flame. You've probably noticed that the more you heal, the more people around you start to act strange. Some get uncomfortable, some pull away, some even lash out. This is not because you've become cold or arrogant. It's because you've become clear, and clarity is confrontational to those who still live in avoidance. You're not judging them. Your energy is just triggering their own unhealed parts. And this is where your soul becomes a weapon not against others, but against illusions. You dissolve lies just by existing in truth. You collapse manipulation without raising your voice. You don't even need to argue anymore. Your silence speaks for you. That's shadow power in its most potent form, silent, grounded, undeniable. But let's go even deeper. Think about the worst thing you've ever been through. Not just what happened, but who you became because of it. Did it harden you? Or did it refine you? Did it close your heart? Or did it force you to find strength in your softness? That moment, that pain, is not just a memory, it's a threshold. And every time you revisit it with compassion instead of bitterness, you reclaim a piece of your soul that was once lost in the trauma. That's soul retrieval. That's spiritual warfare. That's shadow mastery. And every time you integrate a lost fragment, you become more whole, and the more whole you are, the less accessible you are to dark entities. Demons don't fear perfection. They fear authenticity, because authenticity is unpredictable. It doesn't follow scripts. It doesn't fall for manipulation. It doesn't seek approval. And when you're fully authentic, when your soul is no longer fragmented by shame or fear, you become a living paradox, light and dark, fierce and soft, grounded and transcendent. You become a force of nature. You become something they cannot categorize and therefore cannot control. So let me ask you, what parts of you are still hidden in shame? What stories do you still tell yourself about being too much, too emotional, or too intense? Who taught you that your depth was dangerous? What if the very things you've been told to suppress were actually the keys to your spiritual weaponry? Think about it, because until you face those stories, they will remain the cracks through which darkness enters. But once you claim them, own them, those same cracks become beacons. They shine, they warn, they protect, and they attract only what is aligned with your power. You are not broken, you are becoming. And every scar you carry is a sigil of survival that says to the unseen world, this one has walked through fire and did not burn. This one has met their demons and made them kneel. Your aura is a battlefield, how demons read energy before you speak. Before you even open your mouth, something ancient is already listening, not to your words, but to your frequency. Energy doesn't lie. And in the unseen realms, your aura is your language, your armor, your warning sign. It's not just a colorful glow or some vague concept from spiritual memes. It's a living field of intelligence that speaks before you ever do. And demons, they don't need introductions. They read your field the way a wolf smells the air. They sense your confidence, your doubt, your unresolved trauma, your hidden strength. They know if you are prey or predator before you even realize it yourself. That's why most spiritual battles are won or lost before they even begin. Not in rituals, not in mantras, but in the energetic stance you hold in your quietest moments. You might not see your aura, but you feel it. You feel it when you walk into a room and people either gravitate toward you or can't hold eye contact. You feel it when you think of someone and they suddenly message you. You feel it when you sense danger, even when everything looks fine on the surface. That's not paranoia, that's your aura acting like a radar, scanning, defending, attracting, repelling. It is deeply alive, and it is shaped by one thing more than anything else: self-ownership. See, demons and dark forces don't always attack through horror movie theatrics. They don't need to. They look for instability. They look for open doors, emotional wounds, unprocessed grief, self-hate disguised as humility. They're not interested in how many crystals you have or how spiritual you appear. They're interested in how much of your own power you've disowned. Because every part of yourself that you reject becomes a shadow, and every shadow you abandon becomes a doorway. But when you begin to call those pieces back, when you stop hiding your anger, your grief, your passion, your desire, when you stop apologizing for your intensity, you begin to close those doorways. And your aura becomes sealed, fortified, unwelcoming to distortion. This is why the fourth sign of shadow power is this: you radiate energetic clarity. People feel it. And not everyone likes it. Some are drawn to it because it feels like home, like something they've forgotten but deeply crave. Others are repelled because your clarity exposes their confusion. The ones who carry chaotic intentions can't stand to be around you for long. They'll make excuses. They'll ghost you. They'll say you're too intense or too much. But what they're really saying is, your energy is too clean for my chaos to hide in. And deep down, you know that's a compliment. Because when demons sense a clear aura, an integrated soul, they know they can't feed. So they move on. They always move on. Let's talk about envy for a moment. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to hate you without reason? They watch you, critique you, throw shade, not because you've harmed them, but because your existence challenges their narrative. That's not just jealousy. That's energetic reaction. Your aura is doing something to them. It's triggering their shadows. And that's exactly what shadow power does. It doesn't comfort the unhealed, it confronts them. Not with judgment, but with presence. And that presence is unbearable to those who are not ready to meet themselves. Now, here's the twist most people miss. The aura is not static. It breathes. It shifts. It evolves. And if you're not tending to it, it can become cloudy, leaky, vulnerable. Just like your physical body needs food and rest, your energy body needs care, solitude, truth, boundaries, ritual. The more you live in alignment, the stronger your field becomes. And the stronger your field, the less you need to defend yourself with words or force. You are the defense. You walk into a space, and without doing anything, the atmosphere adapts to you. That's not arrogance. That's resonance. It's what happens when your aura stops being reactive and becomes commanding. But let me ask you something. How often do you listen to your energy before acting? How often do you pause and ask, is this person aligned with my field, or are they draining it? Can you feel when your aura contracts in someone's presence? Can you feel when it expands with a certain idea or opportunity? Your energy is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? Because the fifth sign of shadow power is this: you've stopped allowing your energy to be colonized. You no longer give access to people just because they need healing. You've realized that your presence is not a band-aid for others. It's a frequency of initiation. People either rise to meet it or they fall away. And that's not cruelty. That's energetic law. You are not here to be a shelter for demons in disguise. You are here to be a lighthouse for warriors, a mirror for the brave, a disruptor of illusions. And when your aura becomes that level of honest, you don't need to fight the dark. You simply exist, and the dark makes room. The final seal, becoming the shadow that walks with the light. There's a moment quiet, sacred, often unnoticed when you stop trying to be light instead of shadow and begin to understand that you were always meant to be both. That moment is the final seal. It's what completes the transformation of a human into a force, not a saint, not a demon slayer, but something rarer, a being who walks with the light, carrying their shadow beside them, not behind them, not beneath them, but beside. Because the greatest spiritual power is not found in denying darkness, but in mastering the dance between the two. We've been taught to fear our own shadows, to feel guilt for our desires, to hide our anger, to bury our grief. But what if the very things we've been taught to suppress are the keys to our divinity? What if demons, entities that manipulate, deceive, and drain don't fear people who are pure, but fear those who are whole? Because wholeness is unpredictable. It cannot be seduced by flattery or broken by shame. It has no weak spot to aim for, no mask to rip off. When you become whole, you become unconquerable. The sixth sign you have shadow powers that demons avoid is this: you've embraced your paradox. You are light and shadow. You are peaceful but not passive, compassionate but not naive, loving but not blind. You do not need to shout your truth, it radiates from your posture, your stillness, your gaze. You no longer rush to prove yourself because you know your energy proves itself long before you speak. And the moment you step into that embodiment, you become more than human. You become a mirror that reflects the true nature of everything around you. And mirrors? They're either worshipped or smashed. People will love you deeply or fear you irrationally. Some will project their own demons onto you. They'll call you dark, dangerous, even cursed, not because you are, but because you remind them of what they've buried. And here's your final test. Can you let them misunderstand you and still keep your heart open? Can you be the storm and the shelter? Can you carry the sword and the chalice? Can you walk alone when necessary, not out of pride, but because you refuse to abandon your path for temporary comfort? This is where the seventh and final sign of shadow power emerges. You don't chase, you magnetize. You don't convince, you command through presence. Demonic forces, toxic people, manipulative energies, they sense this. They scan your field and realize instantly, this one cannot be used. You've reclaimed your soul piece by piece. You've closed the portals of shame, sealed the cracks of codependence, and replaced fear with discernment. You are no longer a host, you are a guardian. But be warned, the more powerful your energy becomes, the more subtle the tests. Entities may not attack you directly, they may try to seduce you with distractions, false love, spiritual superiority, or even excessive light. Yes, even light, when it is ungrounded, can be a trap. Because anything that disconnects you from your humanity, your emotions, your truth is a distortion. This is why the final seal isn't about becoming pure. It's about becoming so authentically you that even the light you carry doesn't blind you. Your shadow keeps you grounded. It reminds you of humility, of edges, of choices. It is not your weakness, it is your root. So I ask you one last question. Are you willing to walk this world as both the flame and the ash? As both the healer and the wounded? As both the guardian and the one still learning to protect themselves? Because true power isn't about ascending beyond shadow, it's about descending into it, gathering the lost pieces, and rising with every part of yourself intact. You were never broken. You were always being forged. And now, they know. They sense you. And they stay away. Not because you're untouchable, but because you're finally whole. And there is nothing more terrifying to a demon than a human who remembers they are divine.